All right, Math 1, Pythagorean, or Math 2 rather, Pythagorean Theorem Converse. So this one we kind of work backwards. We say, what if we knew the side lengths of a triangle? Could we say anything special about the triangle? So we already know the first statement here that I have. If a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then it's a right triangle, right? Normally we think of it backwards. It's a right triangle, so a squared plus b squared is c squared. But you can say it back and forth. Our next statement, if a squared plus b squared is less than c squared, and one way that I like to remember this is the legs less than the hypotenuse. If the legs are less than the hypotenuse, then it is an obtuse triangle, right? Kind of think about, what I like to do is I like to make a right triangle with my hands, and then I try to think about, well, if it was obtuse, then the hypotenuse would have to be longer. I don't know, I'll show you guys in class. Next up, we got a squared plus b squared is greater than, so this would be like legs greater than the hypotenuse. Then it's an acute triangle, all right? And again, I like to think about I use my hands to make a triangle. I use my my wrists to make my right angle, and then the distance between my pointer fingers is my hypotenuse, and I think about them getting closer and farther away, and it changes the angle made by my wrists. I don't know. That's the way that I remember it. I'll show you guys in class. So these are good things to have written down. We need to know them. Number 2, state if each triangle is acute, obtuse, or right. So first off, we need to label A, B, and C. We need to know that C will always be the longest side. So in this scenario, I'm going to type in my calculator square root of 231 so that I can see how big it is. It is 15.198. So my C is going to be 16, right? On a lot of these, I can't, or well, maybe you can, but I can't tell directly whether or not it's going to be the biggest side or not if there's some ugly square root. So I normally need to type them in just to make sure. So I'm going to say, well, here's my A, here's my B. 1 squared plus root 231 squared. And then I like to put a box there because I need to make a less than, greater than, or equal to sign. And then we're going to say 16 squared. So 1 plus 231, and then 16 squared is 256. So 234 is less than 256. So the way that I think of this is legs less than hypotenuse. If the legs are less than the hypotenuse is bigger, then it's going to be an obtuse triangle. Obtuse triangle. All right, number 3. I think that 14 is the longest side, but let's go ahead and type in 2 root 14 in our calculator just to see. This is going to give me 7.5. So yeah, this is my C, and I'll make this my A and my B. So we'll say 13 squared plus 2 root 14 squared box 14 squared. Remember, this 2 in the exponent goes to both of these guys. So this is going to be, well, 13 squared is 169 plus 4 times 14 box 196. So 169 plus 4 times 14 is 225, and that is greater than 196. So we think the legs are bigger than the hypotenuse, or you can think about the hypotenuse being smaller than the legs. That would mean, what would that mean? The hypotenuse is smaller, so it's an acute. It's an acute triangle. All right. Number 4. Again, we need to decide what is our longest side going to be. So I'm going to type in my calculator root 161, and I got 12.7. So it's going to be 15 is our C, and we'll make this our A and our B. So we'll say, well, 8 squared plus root 161 squared box 15 squared. So 64 plus 161 box, well, what is 15 squared? 225. So then we have 64 plus 161 gives me 225, and so they're equal. So this should probably be the easier version of this. We know that this is a right triangle, right? Because the Pythagorean theorem works here. All right. No, actually, let's look at this one just a second more. So our hypotenuse is up here at C. So let's just think about where would the right angle be? The right angle would be here, because the right angle is kind of opposite the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse doesn't touch the right angle. All right. Number 5. 10 root 2 is going to be the biggest. That's going to be our C. So I'll make this my A and my B. The way that I know that that's the biggest side is because I know that root 2 is bigger than 1, right? It's 1 point something. And I know that 10 times 1 point something is going to be bigger than plain old 10. So that's the way that I figured that one out. So 6 squared plus 10 squared box.
Teacher, pardon the interruption, but just wanted to let you know that Mrs. Batson and Ms. Hargrave and Mrs. Pickup are still waiting on gifts in the guidance office. Thank you.
Alrighty. All right. So 6 squared is 36. 10 squared is 100. Box. Now remember, this square has to go to both of these guys. So 10 squared is 100 times 2. So 136 box 200. So 136 is less than 200. We could think of this as leg less than hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is bigger, so this is obtuse. An obtuse triangle. All right, next up, we're doing the same thing as what we did in the first problems, only now we don't have a picture. So, number 6, we're going to have A, B, and C. And I believe in all of these, they're in order A, B, and C. Let me double check. Yes, isn't that awesome? So we're going to have 12 squared plus 4 root 7 squared box 16 squared. So 144 plus, this is going to be 112, right, because it's going to be 16 times 7. Box 256, that's going to give me 256 equals 256, and it's a right triangle. There we are. All right, number 7. A, B, and C. So 5 squared plus 11 squared box root 202 squared. This gives me 25 plus 121 box 202. So 146, is that right? 146, yes. Box 202, I guess I could just say the less than symbol, I guess would be the way to say that. Less than, yeah. So the leg less than the hypotenuse. We think about our hypotenuse getting bigger, so the angle has to be acute, or the angle has to be obtuse, right? The hypotenuse is bigger, obtuse, yeah. Obtuse. Obtuse triangle. All right, there's number 7. Let's look at number 8. A, B, and C, A, B, and C. So we're going to have, well, 8 squared plus 2, oops, uh-oh, my pen's going out, box 4 root 5 squared. This is going to be 64 plus 4 box. That's going to be 16 times 5, right? Because this 2 distributes to both pieces. So this is going to be 68, box 80. It's less than. And again, so the hypotenuse is bigger than the leg, so it's obtuse. All right, number 9. Here we're going to have 10 squared plus 13 squared, box root 269 squared. We multiply out, we get 100 plus 169, box 269. We add them up and we get, well, they're equal, so this is a right triangle. All right. There we are. Hopefully that's not too terrible.